Welcome. This lesson is over measurement conversion. So let's look at this graph. What do you notice? What do you wonder? Well, I noticed that there are hours and miles. I noticed that in 2 hours, a trip to Dallas. I guess in 2 hours, they took 80 miles. They drove 80 miles. In 4 hours, they drove 160 miles, and in 6 hours, they drove 240 miles. I don't know, I wonder why they're going to Dallas. Oh, I wonder how fast they are going every hour, or what is their miles per hour. Remember, per means each hour. Every hour, for every 1 hour. See, so if I put a 1 right here, oh, it's 40. Every hour they drive 40 miles. That's slow. That means they drive 40 miles per hour. That's really slow if you think about it. So what questions can I ask you about this? Unit rate. Oh, the unit rate is 40 miles per hour. Why is it connected? Why is this connected? Well, when you drive, you don't like stop, like everything. It's a continuous drive. Oh, 8 hours. If you had to make a prediction, so let's make a prediction. 40, so it's 40 miles. So it's 40 miles, 1 hour, 8 hour. What is the relationship between 1 hour to 8 hour? Let me erase this. The relationship is times 8, so 320 miles in 8 hours. And if you could see here, yep, you can see that it will eventually reach that. What else could I ask about this? And the relationship is a multiplication relationship right here. All right, so using a calculator, in 1 year, how many minutes are there? In 1 year, how many minutes are there? Here's a video. Oh, well, the video will have the answer. So what do you think? Every year, how many minutes are there? Well, you can pause it and think about it, use a calculator and figure it out. But here is the answer if you would like to know. So, if you listening and we're listening, it's 525,600 minutes. I'm not going to sing it, but so how did they come up with that? Well, first of all, there's 60 minutes in an hour. How many hours are there in a day? 24. So I times it by 24. So every day there are 1,440 minutes. But how many days are there in a year? 365. And that's where you get 525,600. I mean, if you want to be really specific, there really are not 365 days in a year. We do have a leap year, so you could say 365 and 1/4. But we're not going to be that specific. It's a song. You want to have a song that has a fraction in it. This would be kind of weird. So our things for today is how many pints are equal to 10 cups? How many pints are equal to 10 cups? Well, in class, we will actually have a measurement. We actually would have a bucket full of water, and you would actually sit there and start measuring it out. But if you would like to know, there are 2 cups. If you pour 2 cups, 2 of these cups, it would make 2 cups would make this 1 pint. And then if you have 4 cups, you have 2 pints. If you have 6 cups, you have 3 pints. If you have 8 cups, you have 4 pints. If you have 10 cups, you have 5 pints. So can I record this on a table? So let me record this now. What I just said. Where's my pen? There are 2 cups for 1 pint. If you have 4 cups, you have 2 pints. 6 cups will be 3 pints. 8 cups will be 4 pints. And 10 cups will be 5 pints. Could I solve this using a proportion? In here, you could do, in here, and this table is a good table. What's the relationship between 1 pint to 5 pints times 5? Maybe you see an up and down relationship. I do. I don't know about you, but I do. How do you turn 1 pint to 2 cups times 2? So 5 pints times 2 is 10. So how would you write it as a proportion? 2 cups is 1 pint. If you have 10 cups, the question was how many pints are equal to 10 cups? What is the relationship from 2 cups to 10 cups times 5? The scale factor is times 5. That's where you get 5 pints. Or how do you turn a 2 cup to 1 pint? Divide by 2, or reciprocal times it by a half. That's where you get 5 pints. So today we're going to be talking about relationship using measurements. So using a mathematics chart that looks like this, you're going to determine the relationship between different units like liters and milliliters. So let's look here. A highlight for you. 1 liter has 1,000 milliliters. So 1 liter has 1,000 milliliter. If you have 3 liters, how many milliliters? So each liter has 1,000. 3 liters times 1,000 will be 3,000. 7 liters would be 7,000. 8 liters will be 8,000. So, I think it's going to be 10 because 10 times 1,000 is 10,000. Or how do you build 1,000 to 10,000 times 10? So the scale factor is times 10. So we can do it side-to-side relationship or up and down relationship, within or between. But what if you don't like tables? What if you prefer proportion? I prefer both of them, honestly. 1 liter is equivalent to 1,000 milliliters. What's the relationship from 1,000 milliliters to 3,000 milliliters? Times 3. So that's where we get 3. Or maybe you see a relationship from an up and down relationship. How do you turn 1,000 to a 1? Divided by 1,000. Divided by 1,000. 3,000 divided by 1,000 is 3. So in words, each liter has 1,000 milliliters, or 1,000 milliliters per liter. So let's try another one. Could you fill out this chart? In 24 hours, how many days? I believe that's 1 day. In 2 days, how many would that be? Times 2, that'd be 48. In 4 days, from 1 day to 4 days, that's times 4. So 24 times 4, that would be 96 hours. How do you build 24 hours to 120? I believe that's times 5. So the scale factor is times 5. So from 1 day to that times 5 is 5 days. And last but not least, how do you build 1 day to 8 days? Times 8. So 24 times 8, 32 carried to 3. 16 plus 3 is 192. Again, you may not see it this way. You may see an up and down relationship. How do you build 1 day to 24 hours? Times 24. So 8 times 24 is 192 right there. So 1 day has 24 hours. How do you build, what's the relationship or scale factor from 1 day to 5 days? Times 5. 24 times 5 is 120. Maybe you see an up and down relationship. How do you build 1 day to 24 hours? Times 24. So 5 times 24 is 120. So there are many ways, as you can tell, to solve it. You may make tables, maybe for proportion. It really doesn't matter. The average weight of a baby at birth is 7 pounds. How many ounces is the average weight of a baby? Well, let's look at a chart. Pounds and ounces. It's right here. 1 pound is the same as 1 pound is the same as saying 16 ounces. So 1 pound is the same as saying 16 ounces. How do you build that relationship to 7 pounds? Times 7 times 7, 16 times 7. 7 times 6 is 42. Carry the 4. 7 times 1 is 7 plus 4 is 112 ounces. Maybe you see a relationship going up and down. How do you build 1 to 16 times 16? Wait, it's right here. So you know if you do a within or between or side to side or up and down relationship, you are going to be multiplying by the same number. So it doesn't matter which way you see it. Maybe you see it as a proportion. 16 ounces makes 1 pound. If you have 7 pounds, it's the same thing like a table. How do you build 1 pound to 7 pounds? Times 7. 16 times 7 is 112. Or maybe you see an up and down relationship. How do you build 1 pound to 16 ounces times 16? 7 times 16 is 112. The tunnel is 2 3/4 kilometers long. How many meters is the length of this? So first of all, let's go back and look for kilometer and meters. It's right here. 1 kilometer is the same as saying 1,000 meters. So 1 kilometer is the same thing as saying 1,000 meters. You could write it that way, but maybe you prefer writing it this way. 1,000 meter is the same as saying 1 kilometer. It honestly doesn't matter as long as you put the units in the correct spot. So we have 2 3/4 kilometer. So I'll put it right here, 2 3/4. How do you build 1 kilometer? Well, let's think about it. 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. 2 kilometer would be 2,000. 3 kilometer would be 3,000. So this is between 2 and 3. 2,000, 3,000. So we know our answer will be between 2,000 and 3,000. Do you know what's 3/4 of 1,000 is? So if you have 1,000, you break it into 4 parts. What's half of 1,000? 500. So half of that would be 250. So 3/4 of 1,000 is 750. So I believe the answer is going to be 2,750. Maybe you don't see it that way. Maybe you rather multiply by a scale factor from 1 kilometer to 2 3/4 by multiplying by the scale factor of 2 3/4. So 1,000 times 2 3/4. Do you know what decimal is 3/4? 7,500. So if you multiply 1,000 times 2 and 7,500, that'd be 275. 3 zeros follow it. There are 2 places behind a decimal, so you move the decimal 2 places. That's where you get 2,750. Many ways to solve it. You can estimate. You can do a relationship. Now this is called double conversion. This is where it gets a little harder. Ralph served 6 quarts of lemonade to his guests. How many cups did he serve? So let's look at our chart. We're looking for quarts and cups. Quarts and cups. Quarts and cups. Quarts and cups. I see quarts. I don't really see quarts to cups, but the closest I see is quart to pint and pints to cup. Oh, this is a double conversion. So each quart will have 2 pints. So let me write that down. Each quart, that's abbreviation QT. No, not me. I'm not cutie. Is for, oh, wait. Let me erase that. Each quart is 2 pints. So if you have 6 quarts, what's the relationship from 1 quart to 6 quart? Times 6, so the scale factor is times 6, that's 12 pints. Maybe you see an up and down relationship. How do you turn a quart to a pint? Times 2, that's another way. So each quart has 2 pints, so 6 quarts will have 12 pints. But we need to turn those pints into cups. So every pint you have, you're having like 2 cups. So every pint has 2 cups. So if you have 12 pints, how many cups do we have? So every pint has 2 cups. If I multiply by 2 the relationship, that would be 24 cups. Maybe you see a scale factor, a side-to-side relationship of times 12, and that will give you 24. Maybe you see an up and down relationship. There are many ways to solve it. You can do a side-to-side relationship or up and down. So every quart has 2 pints. So if you have 6 quarts, that's saying you have 12 pints. And every pint has 2 cups. If you have 12 pints, it's the same as saying 24 cups. And our last one, Paul ran 1.5 kilometers. How many centimeters did he run? So let's go. We're looking for kilometers and centimeters. And there isn't anything. The closest I see here is 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters, and each meter has 100 centimeters. So let's write that down. 1 kilometer has 1,000 meters. So each kilometer has 1,000 meters. So if you have 2 kilometers, what would that be? 2,000 meters. So what would 1.5 kilometer be? Well, half of 1,000 is 500. So it'll be 1,500 meters. So at least we know that part. But we have to turn it into centimeters. Let's go back to our table. Every meter, 1 meter, has 100 centimeters. Let's write that down. Every meter has 100 centimeters. 1,500 meters. How do you want to do an up and down relationship, or do you want to do a side-to-side relationship? Let's do side by side first. How do you build 1 meter to 1,500 meters? Times 1,500 times 1,500. So 15 times 1 is 15. How many zeros follow these? 4 zeros. So 150,000 centimeters. Maybe you prefer, let me use a different pen color, maybe you prefer an up and down relationship. How do you turn 1 meter to 100 times 100 times 100? So 15 with 4 zeros, same answer. So that's it. So this is measurement conversion. In measurement conversion, make a table, solve it through proportion. Find the relationship between the two measurements, and you'll be able to find any type of conversion.